Welcome to the Minimal Observer, Episode 1. Who am I?
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so I want you, the listener, to just kind of imagine something with me for a second. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah.
And you walk to the bathroom mirror, and you're looking at a completely stranger's face.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so your body is entirely different. Maybe you're much taller or like decades older. You have a completely different physical form. But, and here's the catch, sitting right there behind those new eyes, you retain every single memory of your life.
Right.
Like you remember your childhood home, your favorite song, the exact smell of the rain on the street where you grew up, all of it. So the question is, who is the you that's looking through those new eyes?
Man, that is a profoundly disorienting scenario. But I love it because it forces this really immediate confrontation with our deepest assumptions about who we are.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're doing today. We're stepping away from the daily noise. Just two curious Western outsiders embarking on a calm philosophical journey together.
Yeah, exactly. We are exploring the ancient wisdom in short today, just looking specifically at how the profound traditions of Hinduism approached that exact feeling, that feeling of, looking out through the eyes.
Right. So we want to invite you, our listener, to simply sit with these questions as we walk through them together. Because humanity's oldest questions seem so simple, right? Like, are you your body?
And most of us intuitively just answer yes. I mean, we point to our chest or we point to our head.
Yeah, we know our thoughts happen inside our skull, right?
Right, right. To a modern mind, it feels like this open and shut case of biology. End of story.
But the physical reality of our bodies,
Yeah.
it actually undermines that certainty completely.
Oh, significantly. I mean, you don't even need to wake up in some magical new body to experience the paradox you just described.
Because your own body is doing it right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Your body is slowly executing that transformation every single day. The cellular turnover in a human being is just relentless.
It's crazy when you look at the numbers.
It really is. Your skin regenerates every few weeks. Your stomach lining replaces itself in days. Even your skeleton, which is like the most rigid structure you possess, that's completely replaced roughly every decade.
So physically speaking, you are operating a completely different biological vehicle than you were 10 years ago.
Literally. Not a single atom of the person who experienced your childhood remains in your current physical form.
Right. Yet you don't feel like just a collection of temporary atoms.
No, not at all.
You feel like this continuous thread. You feel like the exact same entity that was there 10 years ago, just with, I don't know, more data, more memories.
And that continuous thread that is precisely what fascinated these ancient Hindu thinkers. I mean, long before modern cellular biology existed, texts like the ancient Upanishads were systematically breaking down the human experience.
They were basically reverse engineering consciousness.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They completely refused to accept the changing physical body as the self. They looked at the temporary nature of flesh, of breath, and even fleeting thoughts, and they asked, okay, who is the observer behind all of this? Who is the one actually watching the physical form age?
And when they stripped away everything that changes, they were left with this really radical conclusion, which is,
Yeah,
you are not your body. You simply inhabit one.
exactly.
You're not your mind. You merely experience its output. You're not your thoughts, your anxieties, your memories, none of it. You are the invisible awareness that just observe all those things passing by.
Right. And in this tradition, that deeper self, that pure awareness is called the Atman.
Yeah, Atman. Okay.
But for an outsider looking in, it is so crucial to separate this from the typical Western concept of a soul.
Well, that's a really good point. Because in Western frameworks, we usually imagine the soul as this, like, ghostly replica of our everyday personality.
Yes, exactly. We imagine it carrying our preferences, our sense of humor, our specific ego into the afterlife.
Right, like an invisible version of the me who, prefers coffee over tea and gets annoyed in traffic.
And that is exactly what it is not. The Atman is not your personality. It's not your ego. It is completely devoid of those temporary attachments.
So how should we picture it then?
Well, think of your everyday experience like the surface of the ocean during a massive storm.
Okay, lots of chaos.
Right. Your emotions, your bodily sensations, your racing thoughts, those are all the violent waves crashing on the surface. But the Atman is like a deep-sea submarine resting perfectly still at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Wow. Just complete silence.
Complete silence. It is utterly untouched by the turbulence above. It simply records the data. It is pure, silent, witnessing consciousness.
Okay, I love that analogy, but I have to push back a little here.
Sure, go ahead.
If I am that silent submarine, resting peacefully at the bottom of the ocean, why does my heart rate spike the second I remember an impending deadline at work?
Ah,
Like, why do I feel the turbulence so
yeah.
viscerally? If our core nature is this eternal observing Atman, why does the daily grind of being a stressed-out human feel like the only reality there is?
That is the big question. And to answer that, Hindu philosophy points to this concept of ahamkara.
Ahankara.
Yeah, which translates roughly to the ego maker. It's basically the mechanism of temporary identification.
Okay, how does that work?
The mechanism is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Think of it like this. Consciousness acts like a mirror.
Oh.
Now, a mirror is naturally empty and clear, right? But it perfectly reflects whatever is placed in front of it. Over time, the consciousness becomes so fixated on the reflections, the physical body, the endless mental chatter, social status, the pursuit of pleasure, avoiding pain, that it actually forgets it is a mirror.
Oh, wow. It believes it is the reflection.
Exactly. It completely loses itself in the image.
The modern world has actually built a perfect technological equivalent to this ancient concept.
Oh, you mean virtual reality?
Yes. Virtual reality. Like if you put on a high-end VR headset, the first few seconds are clear. You know you're standing in your living room with screens strapped to your face.
Right. You're aware of the hardware.
Exactly. But if the simulation is immersive enough, if the graphics react perfectly to your movements, the biological feedback loop takes over.
It tricks the brain.
Totally.
Yeah.
Within like 10 minutes, you're standing on the edge of a virtual cliff in the game, and you start sweating. Your pulse races. You literally brace your legs. You have completely forgotten the living room.
The avatar in the simulation has become your entire reality.
Exactly.
And the ancient sages were essentially arguing the exact same thing. The human ego is the avatar in that simulation. We are so utterly immersed in the sensory input, the sights, the sounds, the profound emotions of this physical life that we have forgotten the headset. We've lost contact with the Atman, sitting safely on the outside.
But wait, a VR game requires a physical computer to render it.
Okay, yes.
Like the graphics, the physics, the rules of the simulation, they're all generated by a tangible machine sitting in the living room. So doesn't that analogy actually prove that we need the physical brain to render consciousness? Without the hardware, there's no simulation.
And there it is. That is the ultimate materialistic challenge.
Right.
It's the whole foundation of the modern scientific worldview. The idea that the brain creates consciousness the exact same way a computer generates a digital world. And, we see the evidence constantly.
Yeah, like if you alter the brain chemically, your perception changes.
Exactly. Or if someone suffers a severe traumatic brain injury, their entire personality can shift. They might lose their memories or completely change their temperament.
And to a modern observer, that biological reality seems like definitive proof. I mean, if damaging the physical hardware damages the you, then the hardware must be creating the you.
It is a really compelling deduction, but it is not the only logical conclusion. No. Because ancient traditions look at those exact same facts, they agree that changes to the physical brain alter the conscious experience, but they propose a totally different mechanism.
Which is what?
They argue that consciousness does not originate within the brain at all. It is merely expressed through it. So the brain is not a generator, it is a receiver.
A receiver, like tuning into a frequency on a radio.
Yes, the radio analogy is perfect here. Consider how a radio functions. The physical box of plastic, the wire, the circuitry, that box does not create the music.
Right, it just receives an invisible broadcast signal.
Exactly. A signal that already exists independently in the air around us. Now, apply that brain injury scenario to the radio. If you take a hammer and smash the radio's dials, the music is going to distort into static.
And if you crush the speaker, the music stops entirely.
Right.
But the broadcast signal itself is completely untouched by the hammer.
Precisely. The symphony is still playing whole and unharmed, flowing right through the room. It is just that the physical instrument has lost its capacity to receive and translate the signal clearly into the physical environment.
Okay, but how does an intangible signal interact with the physical receiver? Because modern neuroscience can map the exact neural pathway that fires when I see the color red. We can literally watch the electricity move across the synapses.
Neuroscience can map the wiring, absolutely. It can show us the correlation between brain activity and visual stimuli. But, and this is the kicker, it cannot explain how those electrical impulses actually transform into the subjective experience of seeing red.
Ah.
This is what science calls the hard problem of consciousness. We know the physical mechanics of the radio inside and out, but we still have absolutely no idea how physical matter conjures the inner subjective feeling of being alive.
It's just a leap that science hasn't bridged yet.
Exactly. And because science has not solved this, the ancient model, the idea that the brain is a biological antenna tuning into the frequency of the Atman, remains a profoundly viable philosophical framework.
Okay, but if my soul actively chose to play this simulation, to tune into this specific biological radio, I really wish it had chosen the billionaire on a beach expansion pack instead of the stressed out by taxes and traffic level.
Right.
Like, why would a consciousness connected to an infinite, peaceful reality choose to forget its true nature and get lost in a temporary simulation full of suffering in the first place?
Well, my friend, you have just walked right into the ultimate philosophical wall.
I guess I have.
Yeah. Why would the infinite play at being finite? Different traditions offer varied frameworks for this. Some lean heavily into Leela, which is the concept of divine play.
Divine play.
Yeah. It's the idea that the universe is just consciousness experiencing itself in infinite variations, purely for the sake of the experience. The contrast of limitation is what makes the experience rich.
Oh, like playing a video game on hard mode, because invincible mode gets boring after 5 minutes.
That is one way to view it, for sure. Now, other schools of thought focus on Maya, which is the concept of illusion. They suggest that the separation between the eternal soul and the temporary world isn't really a conscious choice we made. It's a structural illusion that we simply must wake up from.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there is this profound acceptance in these teachings to just leave the original motive as a mystery. A mind built entirely within the simulation cannot possibly comprehend the motives of the reality outside of it.
So we shouldn't even try to figure it out.
Well, the goal is not to figure out why the headset was put on. The goal is simply to realize you are wearing it.
Wow. Just realizing you're wearing the headset. That's powerful.
Yeah.
But if we assume the radio analogy is accurate, that consciousness is a signal existing independently of the biological machine, we have to confront what happens when the physical radio finally breaks down for good. Like, where does the signal go?
And that brings us to the concepts of rebirth and karma. In texts like the Bhagavad Gita, the transition of death is described with just striking simplicity. It basically says, just as a person discards old clothes and puts on new ones, the soul discards old bodies and enters new ones.
So the signal continues, and it simply searches for a new receiver to tune into.
Exactly.
But what determines the next receiver? I mean, why is one being born into a life of immense privilege and comfort, while another is born into profound suffering, or even born as an animal?
Well, that's karma.
See, this is where Westerners usually project our own cultural baggage onto the concept of karma. We tend to treat it like a cosmic point system.
Right.
Like if I cut someone off in traffic, I'm going to get a flat tire tomorrow. We view it as this invisible courtroom dispensing punishment and reward.
Which is a fundamental misunderstanding of the whole philosophy.
Yeah.
In its purest philosophical sense, karma has absolutely nothing to do with judgment or morality. It is simply the spiritual equivalent of physics. Yeah. It is just the law of cause and effect extending beyond a single physical lifetime. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you plant an apple seed, the universe is not rewarding you with an apple tree.
Right. Don't care if you're good or bad.
Exactly. It is merely following the mechanical sequence of consequence.
But how does an intangible choice attach to the Atman? Because if the soul is just a silent observer, that pure submarine at the bottom of the ocean, how does the act of planting an apple seed or stealing a car or helping a neighbor, how does that stick to it?
It operates through the mechanism of samskaras.
Samskaras.
Yes. Think of samskaras as mental or psychological impressions. You can visualize it like a vinyl record.
Okay, a record.
Every thought you have, every choice you make, every single action you take acts like a needle scratching a microscopic groove into the wax of your deeper consciousness.
Okay, I follow.
Now, if you repeat an action, say, constantly responding to stress with anger, you drag the needle through that exact same groove again and again.
Until it becomes a deep trench. And then the needle naturally just falls into that trench without you even trying. It becomes a habit.
Yes, exactly. That deep trench creates momentum. Your consciousness develops a gravity towards certain patterns, certain desires, and certain fears.
Wow.
So when the physical body dies, the Atman itself remains completely untouched. But the surrounding layers of subtle consciousness carry those deep grooves, those samskaras, forward.
So that accumulated momentum determines the frequency of the next radio.
You've got it. The signal is drawn to a physical form and a set of circumstances that perfectly match the frequency of the grooves it has already carved.
So karma isn't a judge handing down a sentence from on high. It's just the architectural blueprint we are drawing for our own future awareness.
That is beautifully put.
If I spend my life cultivating anger, my consciousness simply tunes itself to a frequency where anger is the dominant reality.
Exactly. And when you strip away the centuries of dogma and myths surrounding these concepts, the central thesis is actually profoundly empowering. It suggests that you are not passively wandering through a random, chaotic universe. You are actively participating in the evolution of your own awareness.
Every action matters, every thought, every word matters.
Because every single moment is the needle on the record. We're actively carving the grooves right now.
And that means the present moment is the most powerful place in existence.
It is the only place where the needle touches the wax. It is the only place where you can actually make a conscious choice to carve a different groove.
Man, this philosophical journey really moves from massive cosmic scales all the way down to the most intimate reality.
It really does.
I mean, we started by asking if we are just our physical bodies. We explored the idea of the silent observer, the Atman sitting at the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
We questioned the biological hardware of the brain as a receiver rather than a creator. And we mapped how our choices carve the grooves that tune our consciousness across lifetimes.
And yet, before you try to wrestle with the mechanics of multi-lifetime karma or, the ultimate nature of the universe, there is a much simpler, quieter invitation embedded in all of this ancient wisdom.
Right. It's the invitation to simply sit in the room you are in right now. Like literally right now. As you listen to the tone of our voices, as you feel the weight of your body against the chair, pull back from the endless analyzing for just a second. Ask yourself the question that has stayed alive, vibrating through human history for thousands of years.
Who is aware of this experience? Who is the one actually listening to these words right now? Is it your physical ears? The neurons firing in your gray matter? Or is there something deeper? A quiet, silent presence, simply taking it all in.
Until next time, keep wondering. Who are you, really? Lokasama Stasuki no Pavantu.
May all beings in all worlds be happy and free.